savory.
She dresses up as a hooker. He buys her services. Doesn't even ask her name. Apparently didn't even look her in the face. He just uses her, goes off. Then the people like find out that this woman's pregnant. And he says, oh, she's a prostitute. Let's burn her. Burn her. Like this is like 17th century Massachusetts. And then he says, this is a man who purchased my services. Here's his stuff. And he goes, oh, whoops.
Okay, can I answer up all that?
Yeah.
It's going to be a long explanation. I can't do it in 2 seconds. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
This is a, if you will, it's almost a metaphor. It's not even what happened, the way it's described. This is a metaphor of what's called a great argument. We learn out a tremendous mitzvah here of what's called yibum, yavamos, which is the levirate marriage. Let me give some explanation of what the levirate marriage is. The levirate marriage is a man and a woman get married, and the man dies, but the woman is childless. Torah says she has a right to a child from that family. We need to first understand that when a woman marries a man, she's marrying the entire family. She's becoming part of that family. That's why, even in the Goyish world, a woman will take on the family last name. You know about this? Mm-hmm. So she actually becomes part of that family. Again, we talked about this last week that I said that that marriage is an acquisition, that you require a wife. We got into that a little bit last week, right? It's not like a purchase. It's not like you go to 7-Eleven and you buy a Slurpee. It's not exactly the same. Think of it more of it as a land purchase, and we're going to talk about that a little more later. It's a purchasing land. It's the ownership of land, and you have certain rights to that land. There's certain rights you don't have to that land. There's different types of buying land. There's certain things you can do with it. Even here in America today, you can buy a piece of land, but you're not allowed to, put a
skyscraper on it.
Well, I was going to say you can't put like a nightclub or something without permission from the neighbors or something, right? You can't have a porn filming going on or something.
Yeah, a brothel.
A brothel.
Yeah, put a brothel next to a school.
Because he'd already have been there, you'd know. Okay, so what am I saying here? Okay, so you can buy land, you have certain rights to it, there's certain things that you don't have rights to. Okay, now, you acquire this woman, okay, and she becomes part of the family. Mm-hmm. She becomes property of the family. Remember I said last week that there's certain things that are required that she's owed or due, mm-hmm. right? And one of the things is she's entitled to children if she wants them, right? Mm-hmm. So if the man dies and he hasn't given her any kids, then what's called a levirate marriage. And Torah says she's protected so that now the brothers have to marry her. One of the brothers has to marry her and give her kids. Mm-hmm. That's Torah, that's Yevamos.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to get into something that's very interesting. Before Matan Torah, before the Torah was given, okay, the law of Yevamos in that area, they already had a similar law of Yevamos in that area. It was a civil law of Yevamos.
Yeah.
In other words, in the land of Canaan, mm-hmm. in the land of Canaan, there was a law of Yevamos, but it's not Torah law of Yevamos. And in those days, the leviration, I don't know how you say it, this levirate marriage, not only would it include that the brother would have to do it, but perhaps even the father would be obligated. The father would be obligated to bang his own daughter-in-law if his son died. Mm-hmm. His son got married to her, he died, no kids for the daughter-in-law. It's now the requirement, according to Canaan law, that the father would have to be yibum with the daughter.
Yeah, a lot of fathers murdered sons for that opportunity. I feel sad to report.
You know that for a fact?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now follow. Okay. Now, do you want me to say the whole story of Yehuda and Tamar from the beginning?
Sure.
And then we'll answer up all your questions?
Sure.
Yeah? You're going to pay attention?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here's what happened.
I even turned off the game.
All right. Here's what happened. I'm going to explain to everybody what happened. Yehuda had 2 sons. One was named...
I don't remember.
Really?
Yeah.
One was named... Hey, Ginger's in there and Leslie are in there. Let them know that I answered all... I talked about them. I answered up all their questions from last week's chat earlier in this show.
Yeah.
So they just need to watch the videos tomorrow to catch it all. What am I saying? So Yehuda had 2 sons. Judah had 2 sons. You following? Because I'm going to test you on this.
Let me just ask you real quickly. These are good questions from the chat room. What if she finds, the other male relatives repulsive? What if she doesn't want to have sex with them?
That's her choice.
Okay.
That's her choice. It's not a requirement for her. It's her choice. She's allowed to exercise her right.
Okay.
But she can, say, no, I don't want to do this.
Okay.
But we're going to get into that in a second.
Okay.
Okay. What am I saying?
So you're about to tell the story.
Okay, so this is the story of what happened. Judah had 2 sons, and Onan. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, married Tamar, holy woman, and died.
Yeah.
And he did not give her any kids. And the reason he died is kind of iffy, but the Medrash tells us, I believe it's the Medrash tells us that he refused to get her pregnant. He refused to get her pregnant. Why? Because he didn't want to take away from her beauty if she had kids.
A lot of women really pack on the pounds once they start popping out the kids.
You really know how to attract women, don't you? You have a way with attracting, making them feel real good, don't you?
Yeah.
So Levi just said, if you're a female and you've had a kid, then
Back then, they kind of divide their spouses in 2. There'd be one for having kids and one that they keep on.
One for recreation and one for procreation.
Yeah.
Okay. So he only had one wife, and she was, he didn't want any part of. So what he did was called interruptus.
Yeah.
He pulled the pull out. Interruptus, and he pulled out, and he would blow his wad all over her belly.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, because that's something we didn't talk about last week. We're going to get into that now. Okay, so that's what he did, and God did not like that. So God zapped him, and he died. And so the next guy up, this became the responsibility of brother number 1, the second son, which was Onan. Oh, I should say there was 3 sons. It was my 3 sons. There was a third son. We'll get to him. So Onan was the next guy up, and Onan married her, and Onan did the same thing, but not for different reason. He didn't want to have his kids be the progeny, if you will. I don't know if you call it that, of his brother. Because remember, this is called a yibum. This is a levirate relationship, which means those kids belong to this woman. In other words, Onan had his own wife.
Yeah.
Onan had his own wife. Now he's got to go bang his brother's wife to get her pregnant so she can have kids, because it's this requirement thing according to Yevamos. But he wasn't into it, because he's willing to give her sex, but he doesn't want to have a kid there because he's just creating his brother's kid. It's not really his kid. Even though it comes from him, it's credited as being his brother's kid, and he didn't really want any part of that.
Yeah.
So God zapped him too, because he would also blow his wad all over her, because he didn't want to get her pregnant, because he didn't want...
You don't think it could have been because he watched too many porn films and thought that was the way that you do have sex?
No, in the porn films they blow them all over their face.
They didn't do that.
No, they didn't do facials. They just blew them all over the belly. Yeah. So, and how would I know that? Okay. So, what am I saying? So, what am I saying, Levi?
So we talked about why God killed Onan.
Oh, right.
And now Judah's got one more son.
Right. Now, check this out now. The third son. So the Gemara says, the Talmud says, that if there's if the wife, right, and you give her the second one, and the second one dies as well, so now you have 2 who, once the second husband died, right, second brother died, you don't have to give him to the third. Because now we say that this woman, there's something wrong with her, and she's going to kill every man that she sleeps with. Yeah. She's like the Black Widow, right? So once there's 2, we say no. We don't let her touch a third kid, because she's going to kill every kid that there is. Yeah. So the Yevamos says no, third one you don't have to. Right now, theoretically, he could also be part of that, but he doesn't have to do it either. The entire family's done because she's already killed